Thank you so much for joining us, John McKinney from the LA County DA's office. So this new program for juveniles, explain what it's all about.
Well, as I understand it, and let me say at the outset that these are my personal views. They don't reflect the views of the DA's office or the district attorney himself. Now, as I understand it, there's a new juvenile, they call enhanced diversion program that was rolled out in pilot last month. And it basically expands what had already existed, which was a diversion program for low-level offenders who were under the age of 18. So misdemeanors and low-level felony offenders and juvenile have always benefited from various diversion programs. This seeks to expand that, and it expands it in a way that's quite scary, because it expands it to include juveniles who commit serious and violent crimes.
What's your biggest concern with this program?
Well, I have a couple of serious concerns, and right off the bat, I have to say that the eligibility is expanded to include sexual offenders. Sexual battery is specifically listed as one of the crimes for which a person could be eligible or would be eligible. And we see a lot of sexual batteries, particularly against children, committed by older teens. And maybe the DA isn't aware that that's such a big problem in our county. And I call on him to, if nothing else, remove that provision from this badly thought through policy. He should do it Monday morning. He should do it as early as Monday morning. If he can, he should do it over this weekend. It's shocking to me that that crime will not only be on the list of eligibility, but be cited by the DA as an appropriate crime for eligibility. I'm worried about other crimes too. Robbery, assaults that can be committed by gang members with dangerous and deadly weapons. We've seen a lot of these violent and aggressive shoplifting cases or thefts where people go into a store with sledgehammers, they go in with baseball bats and pipes, and they just absolutely terrorize the people in these stores. If you're standing behind a counter with handbags or jewelry and someone is standing there with a sledgehammer in his hands, that's about as frightening as it can possibly get. People like that should not be eligible for diversion, because when we're talking about diversion, people should understand these are people who will not even be charged with a crime. These are people who will be released from custody with no bail and referred to a program. That's what diversion is. So you have eligibility for assaults with weapons, robbery with weapons, burglary with weapons. A person can commit kidnapping and be eligible. False imprisonment and be eligible. Carjacking is eligible. There are just a number of very serious and violent crimes that should not be subject to a diversionary program. Now, I have to say, Gina, diversion is essential for dealing with low-level youthful offenders. So the issue isn't whether we should have diversion or not. The issue is it a well-thought-out, well-devised diversionary program for young people who are actually amenable to the kind of care and treatment that these programs provide?
How is everybody in the office reacting to all of this?
No one's shocked anymore at the ineptitude, at the tone deafness, at the incompetence that we see coming from the upper administration of this office. So, but it's atrocious nonetheless. It's appalling. None of us want to be associated with this brand of criminal justice reform, which is less about really helping people and dealing with some structural inequities in our society, and it's more about just eliminating responsibility and accountability for very serious and violent crimes.
Now, hasn't this program already been in existence as a pilot?
Yes. So as I said earlier, we've always used diversion to deal with low-level offenders. In fact, we had been expanding it before the election, which George Gascon became the district attorney. Based on some campaign promises that he was going to do even more, he created this enhanced diversion, and he extended this diversion to people who shouldn't be eligible. And frankly, it smacks of politics It smacks of being able to go back to some of his supporters who want this and say, look, I delivered for you, without any regard as to what this will do to public safety and what this will do to innocent victims, both in homes and on the streets.
So if these kids are not being punished and they're going to this program, what is the program? What are they doing?
Well, there are only a couple of programs, from what I understand, that even accept kids from Los Angeles County. And one of the programs, I understand, actually has a very good reputation. They've been working with the county for over 10 years, and they are reliable, they keep good statistics, and they do good work. But you know what, Gina? They have very strict eligibility criteria. They won't accept gang members. They won't accept any juvenile who used a weapon. They won't accept juveniles who are so antisocial that they're not amenable to the kind of treatment that care provider can provide. And what other particular programs have contracted with the county, I can't speak to. But I think if you just look at that one that was with the county for so long with a certain criteria that fits low-level offenders, that tells you really all you need to know about what kind of juveniles should be sent through diversion and which ones should. The pilot program had revealed a lot of problems with the policy. And really, this thing should still be in pilot until they work it all out. One of the big problems is the county hasn't contracted with enough care providers to meet the needs of this policy. So we have young people being referred to programs and getting little to no treatment because there are not enough providers to treat them. That's a big problem because they're getting nothing. They're just sitting, especially during COVID, where a lot of these young people are not able to go in. And so a lot of it is by Zoom. And based on the pilot results, from what I understand, this is not something that's ready to be rolled out countywide. We have so relaxed accountability for juveniles that we have basically put a target on their backs for gang members and really for any adult who's looking to commit a crime. The juvenile will be solicited to hold the gun. The juvenile will be solicited to be the one to go into the store and take the merchandise while the adult stays outside and plausibly be able to say, I didn't know what was happening inside, those kinds of things. This does, I think, just pile on to a lot of bad policy that's already failed juveniles in so many ways. We're releasing, in some cases, hardcore antisocial, serious and violent offenders right back onto the street without any supervision. And let me say, this is not personal. I don't know Mr. Gascon personally. My criticism is aimed entirely at his policies. He even has expressed some good goals, goals that very few people would disagree with, but he has no idea how to map out a path from where we are to where we want to go. He's not competent for this job. He's in over his head. He surrounded himself with people who have absolutely no idea what they're doing. He brought in a lot of public defenders who have never worked in a prosecutor's office and have no idea what it is prosecutors are even supposed to do. So I hope the public sees that, appreciates that, and are ready for change, the change in leadership of the district attorney's office. But then also to go beyond the district attorney. Mr. Gascon is somewhat of a canary in the coal mine. He's piloting a lot of ideas that are up in Sacramento in our legislature. A lot of bad law is coming out of Sacramento, and a lot of it is following what George Gascon is doing in Los Angeles. So we have to go beyond just the district attorney. We need new leadership across the board. We need people in office who listen, people who are competent, they have the proper experience, education, and they know how to get things done. It's not enough to just be a visionary. You have to know how to bring that vision to life.